Hey guys, I'm Trina and today I'm doing a book review for Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This is actually my first time reading anything by V.E. Schwab, but pretty much I've been hearing about all of her books like forever. But I finally picked it up because I was doing a buddy read for this book with Kayla Rain and Gretchen at GOODREADS, and they're going to be doing their reviews on this book as well. So once their reviews are up, I'll put links down below in the description box. As always, my reviews have different sections, so I'm going to start off with the summary, which you can skip or mute if you don't like to hear summaries. I'll tell you what I rated it, who I would recommend it to, and then I'll get into more of a discussion of themes, but it's not going to be a spoilery discussion, so don't worry about that. And I've got timestamps down in the description in case you want to skip around to any of those specific sections of this review. So to summarize what this book is about, the narrative of this book is split into two different timelines. There's this whole story going on today, and then this other story going on 10 years ago. The book is following our two main characters, Victor and Eli, who 10 years ago when they were in medical school, they decided they wanted to study what kind of circumstances would have to happen to have a human develop kind of superhuman, extraordinary powers. And through their studies, they end up giving themselves superpowers. And the rest of the story is set up just examining what would somebody do if they suddenly came into this power. Would they choose to use it for good or for bad? And how it changes the dynamics of their friendship. The first chapter starts off where we know that Victor has been in jail for the past 10 years because something happened that we don't know about yet, and he's broken out of jail and he is dead set on hunting down Eli and killing him. That's the setup, that's all we know starting off. I don't want to say much more than that because I feel like this is one of those stories that you just need to go into it and experience it for yourself. I rated this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought that the writing was fantastic. This being my first V.E. Schwab book, the writing definitely makes me want to pick up like everything else she's ever written. The characters were also fantastic. I especially loved one of the characters. I felt a pretty strong connection and was very, very invested with how the story was going to turn out for that character. And the book kind of comes full circle in that it ends where it starts out. I thought that the timeline narration worked very well for this story. Even though sometimes we already knew what the outcome would be in present day and then we're hearing about it happening in the past, she still built the suspense like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, how is this really going to turn out? Even though I already knew. So I was very invested in the story and the characters. I loved the writing, and it gives you a lot to think about. It kind of challenges your conceptions about characters and people and morality, so I loved that. This is definitely one of those books that will make you think. The reason I took half a star off is because around the middle of this book, the narration kind of changes gears again. We're getting into another part of the story, and I kind of started to slow down at that point. I think it was just I needed some time to absorb that change. I felt like we were getting into some character development that was making me not really enjoy the characters as much. Even though I said there was a slump in the middle, the end of this book was very fast-paced and action-packed, so the ending really ended on a high note. Overall, I think Vicious is one of my best reads of the year so far. It's a very high rating for me, regardless of taking that half a star off. I would recommend this book specifically to people who read and loved The Young Elites by Marie Lu because it also kind of follows a darker or more villainous character. Also, if you liked The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, I feel like you'll like this as well because I kind of felt like the way the characters were set up, we constantly were challenging our perception of them, and it wasn't always clear who was going to turn out to be the good guy and the bad guy. Besides young adult books, this is going to appeal to anyone that likes superhero stories, any YA reader who is looking to branch out into more adult fiction, or any adult reader who is wanting to know what all the buzz about YA is about. This is a great book for kind of that crossover from YA to adult fiction because half of the story is set 10 years ago when these characters were in college, and the other half of the story is set in the present day where they're in their 30s. So moving on to more of a discussion of the themes, I feel like there's not a lot I can say about the book that hasn't already been said. It's just a great examination of villains versus heroes, what is good versus bad, what is right and wrong, who defines that, does everybody have a dark side, can even villains turn out to be the hero? And I did feel challenged pretty much the whole way through because it's written to where you get an impression of you think this person is the bad guy and then you start rooting for them as the story goes on. I don't know, I felt like it just weaved together this really awesome examination of superheroes and supervillains and what we kind of expect from them. Another thing that I really loved was there was just this emphasis on having a price to these awesome powers, how they kind of dehumanize you after a while. I also loved that this book featured some powers and abilities that aren't always typical. They're not like just standard X-Men powers all the time. There are some very unique ones that were very interesting to explore. So my question for you guys in the comments is, if you had a superpower, what power would you want to have? I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Vicious, and if you've read the book, let me know what you thought about it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!